All right, so uh, I've actually put some miles on the 81 wagon now. Uh, Front suspension works, does its job, but it's way too bouncy. Obviously, the front struts are blown, basically. So, obviously, just bounces around all over the place. You hit a bump, it freaking goes on for like a mile. uh, so now I'm at try to figure out version 2 of coilovers. But this time I'm actually going to try to make actual coilover. I did see so originally I'll just put stock struts on it for now with my coil set up. At least the new struts should kind of slow it down. But nobody makes them for this that I can find. I know Rutledge had one just like this. BC Racing, I'm sure, made a set for him, but the ones that show on their picture look like they are different. I know from sedan and hatches are different suspension for whatever reason from wagon, uh, and they're also $1,000. So me being me, trying to work with what I got, uh, I'm gonna try to take some measurements of the bottom part of the strut. I have some omnis that I could use that bottom part. Might be able to slide it in because it slides in like it would on a fork from a 90, like 89 or 88 to '01 Civic or 2000 Civic '01 Integra on that front fork, that center part. Then I'm gonna try to get some like anything from '02 up struts with coil that I could wind that on, since they actually have a thicker rod on the actual shock itself. That way, with a Civic one, I'd probably bend because it actually holds the whole spindle. So I'll show you guys here what I'm talking about and how bad the strut actually is, because it's pretty bad when you can move it by hand like it's nothing. So yeah, there's a previous video, obviously, of how this is set up. But if we compare, well, I guess you can't because it's not taken apart. This is just an old school Omni that I have. Uh, but this is what I'm talking about. And that has it same way. Hopefully this is same size or pretty close at least. If this is bigger, it'd be perfect because I could shave this down to where it slides in. And then I just have to worry about finding a top coilover from like an '02 up Civic that actually has the thick rod on the strut itself, or the strut itself, I guess. But this one is not super easy, but with the weight of the K20, I mean, you can see that, especially with having the stiffer ground control springs, how it would just bounce because it's pretty much just on spring. It doesn't have a shock absorber. So that's what I'm planning on doing. So right now, gonna measure this and measure that right there and start trying to work on something. I really wish this had a thicker rod, because then I could just literally bolt this ones up and just make a top hat, which I plan on doing anyways, because I'm gonna eventually cut this part off, and whatever I end up putting on, gonna weld one of those on. That way I could actually have caster and camber plates on, and that'll help me when I align it, because it definitely needs an alignment as well. So that's what I'm working on, the wagon now. It kind of sucks, I'm back and forth with projects, but between that, I had worked on my buddy's 84 LTD, the Toyota, and just other shit, side jobs here and there. So, but I'm gonna try to concentrate on these two right now. Like I said, hopefully get something figured out. That way, when I get it tuned, hopefully at the end of this month, it's pretty much ready to actually drive, and I can actually get on it. Because right now when I get on it, I'll upload a clip of it. It's pretty dumb because the front end bounces so much that it just, every time it tries to catch traction, it goes. But it just bounces so much that it's useless. So I'm gonna try to put some actual power to the ground by doing the front suspension, help it out some, and then worry about the rest later. So bad news is just from even just looking at it, I mean it's like 2 millimeters difference, so that kind of blows. But I don't know if it changes from here. I think it does, from size. I don't know what that is, but I actually have some other ones over here. This are, not sure what, but then again they kind of look as big. But these are ground controls. Then I have some type 1s. So I guess I'm gonna try all of them and see if any of them work. Hopefully, that would be tits, but we'll see. Well, that was a bust. Obviously these are EG for sure, and I'm also sure these are EF, and that's where the differences come from. Obviously EG Integra are different than EF. They're smaller. That's why when you use EF coilovers on like EG, you just have to use the fork because this is way smaller. But what I'm thinking is my brother actually has some TNs off his 06 Civic. Those bolt on differently because they have the 2 bolts right here, and then they bolt onto the hub. But what I'm thinking is if I could get those from him, I'm pretty sure this bottom part is metal on them. Cut all that off, find a rod, a tube, whatever, that's the exact same size as this one's here once I measure it. And I could always cut the bottom off and then weld that piece on it. If it's metal, I could weld it. That's no big deal. And then, like I said, being an 06 Civic, it'll actually have the longer rod here. The fatter rod, I mean. So I think I'm onto something here. Might make that work. So at least now I got a game plan. At least I know this doesn't work. This one's I actually might keep and use on the Toyota. Same thing, I'll just have to make something slide in here to make a bottom bracket, but that's a whole different video for the Toyota. But like I said, I mean, hopefully you guys are following with what I'm saying. Obviously this video is going to continue on to what I'm talking about, but at least, like I said, I have a game plan, and that's what matters. So hopefully that works out for me. That'd be great. And then I'll have front suspension set up, and they even come with top camber plates, so that'd be great. Alright, so previous clips I went through why EG bottoms wouldn't fit. Obviously they're too small, so I picked up this TN Flex from my brother. As you guys can see, they have the thick rod that I was talking about that I actually need. Obviously this looks bigger just because it's extended, but the TN is actually about ½ inch longer than what I need, so I'd probably have to raise overall height about ½ inch to even make it work, unless I could figure something out with the top hat to push it up higher, which I am trying. The other thing is that I would have to do, so this, I'll just thread it pretty much where it gives me the right height that I want, and I would cut this here, find a tube that's the exact same size as that right there, weld it here, and then I'll be able to slide that into the actual spindle right there. And like I said, that would actually give me what I need. Going ½ inch taller wouldn't bother me, because after all, I do want to run a little bigger tire, a little fatter tire, so having that extra height would probably help me out. And then if anything, I could still raise this up. Should be able to raise it up at least another 1.5 inches, which I doubt I would need it, but if I ever wanted to run like a big slick, I could just raise it up and it'll still be stiff because you could preload this. So far, looks like it would work. I'm still trying to take this camber plate out from the top. Slight camber caster slash because it's not centered. But I'm going to take it off, see if there's anything I can do to lower this. Make it sit a little lower. So it gives me that ½ inch. So that would be exact same height that it is now. And then like I said, I'll still have like 1.5 inches of race if it ends up working out. I'm not going to cut anything right now. I'm just trying to measure and see it. And if my brother doesn't want to get rid of this because the actual adjuster is broken there, that's why he wanted to send them out to get rebuilt. So if he doesn't and lets me get them, I'll just run them how they are, like that. And then if I ever get new coilovers, I could just buy the same thing, TN Flexus, and I'll just remove my bottom part from here, put it in, and then the rest should be the same if I keep that top hat. Or if not, I could always just switch that over as well. So I might even be able just to buy the shock absorber itself, since I got everything else. So that's what I got going on. I'm gonna try to do a couple more measurements, take the top hat apart, see if I can lower that ½ inch that I'm missing. If not, plan is to cut this out and put that 3-bolt mounting flange. So I might just raise that up ½ inch and hope it clears the hood still without having to cut it, because I would not want to cut it, especially being right where the hood fins are right there. But another thing I could do, I could run a Mustang top hat that has more adjustment because it has camber and then it has caster on the same plate. I just don't know if the hole would be big enough, but like I said, I could always find out. I also could, the caster I could adjust from my torque bars, whatever you want to call them, so that I could pull it forward and it'll actually adjust it. I can't go back anymore. I'd have to pull forward because it ends up hitting back here. But that's one way to adjust that. Either way, I mean, it's only so much I can adjust, but that's what I got going on right there. Just a lot of measuring and custom making shit, but we'll see. Hopefully that works out for me, and then I'll be set on suspension. And I also got a little something coming for this. Another thing that I hope clears the hood, but you guys will see when it comes down to it. Alright, so I took this apart from here. So I was looking. This is awfully similar to the top part of the old one there. See, if I take it off, literally the only thing that keeps the shock in place is this rubber, just so it's not obviously metal on metal. But this is also very similar. The only reason I want to keep this is because it has the spherical bushing there, just so it can move around, which if it's staying stationary, it doesn't matter. But since the shock turns when you turn, that helps it a lot. But I figured one way to get me by if I do go with this one's right now, I could ditch that, and I don't even have to drill out the top. Well, cut it off to weld one from a Civic or newer Civic. What I can do is do this right here. Just center it. There we go. Make myself a top plate. There you go. I mean, I guess I could have a little bit of adjustment. Make myself a top plate and then bolt this from the bottom. I see this comes from the bottom. Make a top plate that has the same holes here. Maybe grind this down. That is double metal here, so it's strong enough. So if I make this flat and make the groove for those bolts right there, and it'll give me some adjustment there a little bit. And with the plate up here, it keeps it all together, and that gives me way over that 1/2 inch that I need. And then I could just raise it up with that bottom over there, and I can keep my preload. That's one way to do it. Like I said, I gotta figure out if my brother's gonna want to keep them or not before I start cutting into this bottom part of his shock. So basically it'd be cut this in half, then I would add that tube that's the same size as that, so I could bolt it on, and this will be able to slide on my spindle or my hub or whatever you want to call it, and then the top will literally just bolt up with minimal, what's it called, fabrication for now at least. That's eventually I do want to put a caster plate and stuff, but I think I got this figured out. Like I said, now it's just a matter of figuring out if my brother's gonna use them, or if I can buy just this from Tien, which I don't see why not, since it's egged out there anyway. So I might give Tien a call, or dealer or something, see if I can possibly buy just this. If I can, then I'll modify this one and I'll buy my brother new ones just in case he decides he is going to use them. But then by then I could just buy a new set, and then I would just keep my bottom part of the coilover in. So that's the plan. We'll see how that goes.